I bought this Mustang to use instead of the Ferrari.
Welcome, everybody, back to round 4 of the Anstal Racing IMSA Season 6. We've got a few new attendees and we're racing at the Nurburgring Grand Prix layout this week. I'm joined once again by Ule to go through this race with me. It looks like it's going to be exciting. It's a good track for racing, particularly in the GT3, and we're running the GP layout, which means we've got that heavy braking zone into the chicane at the end of the lap.
I don't mind it. I just know it's slow. Like, I'm slow anyway, but it makes it worse.
Yeah, it's a good track. I should say it's a track that lends itself to a lot of overtakes. In a lot of corners, it's not one of those tracks where you're just stuck behind another driver for 10 laps before they go into the pits and then you can overtake them. It's a track with plenty of overtaking opportunities. And yeah, add in a little bit of spice with some mixed multi-class racing, and I'm sure we're gonna have a blast of an evening.
Yeah, we always get some great racing.
Here we go with the qualifying for the GT3 cars.
Yeah, we always get great racing around here, and it's a great track for qualifying as well. Cars really on the limit in a few corners. That Schumacher S, they're really great hairpin. We'll get some really good shots through there as well. And then that tricky final chicane as you get towards the end of the lap. And this section here is really technical, actually, that we're just following Davide Favaro on his outlap, because you kind of it's difficult to get to full throttle. You're kind of managing feathering the throttle the whole way through and trying to find the most efficient way through there. And it also means we'll get some great side-by-side racing through there. So everybody's trying to get a bit of temperature into their tyres, it seems, at this early stage.
Yeah, plenty of GT3 cars out on track. We just see this is the first few cars spotted already lining up with a bit of a queue. See about 10 cars here in a little bit of a train, so we'll have to spread out. And then there's a few more, I presume, still in the pits, or at least making the way out of the pits. So it's going to be a lot of traffic to deal with, as well as dealing with the track itself. See everybody on the entry there to Schumacher is already trying to get used to using a lot of curb. So it really is a tricky corner, even though it's mostly flat out. Or not actually in the GT3s, it's a little bit of a lift. I'm not sure how it is with the GTPs. Yeah, but looks like Davide Fabio Punta might be the first one that is flying laps.
Yeah, it will be.
How they do.
About to come to the line now.
A tactic coming up. Yeah, final corner here, but a bit of a tactic I could imagine for some of the drivers going out on an out lap, of course, and then maybe a little bit of a warm-up lap, but we'll see. Yeah, as you cross the line, Fabio Punta, the first one, doesn't look like this is going to be a warm-up. Really pushing it with the Porsche there close behind him. Who that is, perhaps.
Yeah, not quite sure. The Porsche very close behind. Not quite sure what
car number 9.
The purpose of that is. We'll try and get the car numbers on screen for you.
Ignace.
So,
Mieczysławski, also a fast driver. We know that he's capable of putting some good laps times down.
Yeah,
right now has the benefit of the slipstream from the Ferrari ahead, but at the same time there's also some dirty air he has to manage.
It's about a 10 slower than the Ferrari in the first sector, but he's the second quickest car driver to have gone through that first sector so far. Ignace obviously leading not leading, but in that sort of joint lead at the AM title. So he'll be looking for a good day here today. And maybe tucked up behind who is probably the quickest pro driver is a good tactic on the start. He obviously was very close, but if he doesn't think he's going to be quicker, that means he's going to get the full advantage of the tow throughout the lap. Fabio Ponta did have 2 purple sectors, but that second sector has been stolen away by Daniel Maggioni as he made his way through that sector. That first sector for Ignace is still standing up a little bit off the pace in that second sector. We've seen the Ferraris be quick all season, but I think that's partly because we've had the Ferraris tend to be the car driven by the bigger teams, so they've got a bit more work on the setup that they're able to do. Fabio still carrying a lot of purple sectors, but he is the first car to arrive at all of them.
A lot of curb taken then the final chicane, then of course a lot of track used on the entry through this. It's not really a hairpin, is it? But it's big U-turn, rather call it. So it's a purple, green, purple, green, purple. Somebody else out there gonna have a banger of a lap. Of course, Fabio being the first one to cross the line. He's on the penultimate, not penultimate, pole position for now. A little bit more than a second from Michaszewski that was right behind him when they started. So perhaps being right behind another car you go into your first lap is perhaps not the best idea, but he has plenty of time to get himself some redemption here. Ignas currently P6, still a good lap time. Fabio P1 still at the moment, only half a tenth faster than IMSA or Sims.
Pretty close.
Fabio, another purple sector from him.
Instead pushing again, purple, but then yellow maybe pushed a little bit too hard on the tyres in that first bit of a lap. Let's go on board with him and follow him round this lap as he comes through what is probably the most difficult bit of a lap. Oh, and he's very, very light lift to get through there. Very impressive. Pretty heavy braking zone here. Use as much of a curve as you can, and he does. This corner really difficult to get the car. You got to get the car all the way back to the left before you turn in to carry as much speed as possible. Now, I believe this is counted as a corner, but really it's just a little kink on the straight. Take the shortest line that you can through there. Then heavy braking into the GP layout chicane as opposed to the WEC layout to try and incentivize some overtaking. Clobbers over the curbs rather clumsily, it looked like, from off board, but are we going to see an improvement? His last lap was a 1:57.318. Going to come to the line shortly now. That's a DRS line, and that is a timing line just there. And it is not an improvement. About just under 1/10 away from what he did last time. Ignas moves up to P9. David 8 Favaro moves up to P4. So tight battle at the top, with what are a lot of Ferraris dominating this field as it stands.
Ferrari is just a quick car, isn't it? There's not much to do if you're a car that doesn't have as many setups as also, as you mentioned earlier, big part of it. Good setup for a track, then it can help you immensely. Even though the car might not be faster, if you can have more confidence with more than just a few kilometers on the top speed. But yeah, Fabio going a little bit slower on his second lap, but still pole position. Now, Vincent also can't really see where he is on track currently, but would imagine he also didn't improve his second lap. Difficult to equal identical time.
Vincent pounding around the track again through that S. Comes up over the crest. That heavy braking zone that we saw a few laps ago and pulls off the track, so no improvement for him. He's going to go back to the pit lane for some new boots and a refuel for heading back out. Daniel Maggioni on a decent lap hit. Yellow in sector 1, but purple in sector 2 and green in sector 3, so there's definitely time to be found on this lap. Through that sweeping right-hander and into the braking zone. He heads for the chicane. Clobbers the curbs. We see sparks come off the car, but he gets it through nicely. Doesn't use as much curb on the outside as the Ferrari does. Now, it's pretty simple from here. Foot down, flat out. Make it to the line. He is going to do that. Daniel Maggioni goes up to P2 by 0.06 of a second and bang on half a tenth short of Fabio Ponta. So he'll be out there. 2 purple sectors on his way to that time. He'll be out there looking for some further improvement to try and move up into pole position. Chris van Stuyland has had a green sector and a couple of yellows are watching him here in that green Ferrari. Coming back to the series has been here before. Took a break for the start of his season, but come back on that discounted entry that is available on the website. You can grab that in the link in the description and come and join us for the next 4 rounds of the Ansel Racing IMSA series for half price and still compete for prizes. Chris not able to improve on that last lap, so put in that green sector on an out lap actually, so he's going for a hot lap now. Oriel Falk is looking to improve, currently the only driver not to have set a lap time in GT3 in the Ford. Green sectors all the way around as we would expect. Fabio Ponta is on a bit of a stormer. Oriel Falk is about to cross the line. Does so. Where's that time going to put them? Up to P14. So the Ford's struggling here, it seems, a little bit.
Fabio with 2 purple sectors, but also 2 yellows. Let's try and see how he does as he comes out of the final corner here, crosses the line. It's a green one, but we haven't had the time yet. There it is, 2/10 improvement on his previous lap time, which sets him 2.5 tenths away from Daniel Macchioni, that is currently also on a great lap. He's got a second purple sector 2. So he's not going slow up there, but there's some yellow times, and it's 2.5 tenths. That's quite a lot of time you have to find.
Daniel Morphy there, who was on a big improvement, but just backed out.
Sorry, yeah.
So backs out of that one and clearly goes for another. So let's watch that from off board. The BMW driver, he's had some pretty impressive performances this season. Going to head into the braking zone of turn 1. We'll get lots of overtaking here in the race. Although it probably won't be decided into turn 1 because you can kind of carry it out through this whole section here. Driver for Red Eagle Racing. Picking his way through this difficult sector. He's got that GT3 Ford up ahead, Mustang. So looking for a little bit of a toe off that car as well. Now, one tricky left-hander coming up here actually. Carry a lot of the speed through. The GT3 drivers will know this track very, very well. I imagine most of them partook in the Nurburgring 24. And obviously that does involve the full Nordschleife, but does involve the full GP layout as well. So they'll know this track very well. Fabio Ponta looking to improve yet again. Yellow sector, but that was already a yellow sector last time, and he goes purple again. So let's watch him.
Not great friends with the second sector there. Seems to be other drivers that can match him and even beat him there, but it doesn't really matter when he has 3, maybe potentially even 4 purple sectors. Yeah, coming out here of the final corner once again. Is he gonna improve it?
I think he is. Wow, half a second clear.
2.5 tenths.
Ignis crosses the line.
Half a second clear of the second fastest guy, Daniel Macchioni, that also he had a great lap on the first pole lap that Fabio set. Only half a tenth clear of him, or behind, sorry, but now is half a second. That's a lot. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be a pretty good race for Fabio. We can carry that through into the race. Daniel Morphy crosses the line. Where does he slot up to P4? Ignis did go up to P4 momentarily. The AM driver, the highest placed AM driver as it stands, and you got to go down to his championship rival Adam Jarvis down in P9. So that's a very good qualifying for Ignis if it stays as is. But never count out either of those drivers. They'll both go for it again. Daniel Morphy's going to go for it again. A lot of yellow coming in at the moment as it stands. Nobody setting major improvements. Kiko Lakaye looking to move ahead of Adam Jarvis to get himself in amongst the pro drivers for the start. He's got greens and yellows, but we've not seen yellows stop anybody from going to pole position so far and setting a big improvement. Using the tyres tactically.
Not anybody getting closest there. It's looking like a fight for P2 as it stands right now. 3 people actually in contention for that starting position. They are all within 7/100th of a second. That's just like half a second is a lot of lap time. 7/10, is.
Daniel Maggioni pulls off the track. That's him conceding. Had the 2-minute warning. An outlap is more than 2 minutes. to get around about 2 minutes 20, 2 minutes 30. So checkered flag. There we go. 14 minutes into the session. That is when the checkered flag falls. So most of these drivers aren't going to be able to improve. No one on massive improvement so far. Oriol Folk could improve it in that beautiful Mustang. As it comes through the final corner. Put back to the floor. Take full advantage of the toe to the line. It might be a couple of thousands, but sometimes that's all you need to move up. And they do move up quite a big chunk as well, up to P10. So the pro driver gets themselves out of that little ditch they were in and in amongst the other pro cars. I believe that's going to be it for improvements, unless Alvaro can do something a bit magical in this final sector. He clearly thinks he can. And what's it going to be as he comes across a line? Stays P13, I believe. Yeah, so looks like no one else out there is going to improve in the quick break. We're going to take you to a quick recap of what happened in round one.
Seems to have been a little bit of a following of the aircraft the past 2 years. It's, at least the past 2 years that I can remember, it's been a majority of accurate cars driving out of on the track. It is a great car that leads us to a lot of tracks with perhaps not the highest top speed, but a lot of cornering speed, and significantly easier to turn in than something like the Cadillac. That's also a fast car, but it doesn't turn as much. Let's put it like that. Yeah, even though we see a little bit of a luck here from Øystein. Turn one. Even with those small mistakes, we just noticed that it's just a little bit of a wiggle there as well coming out of the corner. It is a tricky turn one, coming downhill and then having to do heavy braking zone, and then it's a really right sector right until you turn left, and then it starts becoming very narrow. Turn 4, called a little chicane there, would call it. But Øystein seemed to be doing quite well. Oh, little bit of an off track, perhaps. Looked like he went very far out, but keeps on going. Has 2 purple sectors currently. Christopher Dunk takes a purple sector, but Øystein takes it back just moments after. Oh, a lot of curve there to the final chicane, into the last corner. See him not taking as much up the curb on the outside as we see some of the GT3 cars have been doing, but plenty of exit curbs there as he comes out, crosses the line with another purple sector, and it's 4 purple sectors and a pole position now. But it's interesting to see. It doesn't seem like they're taking a warm-up lap as much as we've seen some of the previous seasons. Cars been going out for 1 lap, and then it's a warm-up lap, and then you go. To just go straight at it, but also seems to be working for Øystein. He's $100 lap time in the first sector, lost a little bit in the second, then see the third also a purple, so might be sending his half a second gap. Try and see, it's only really little kink, a chicane on a corner left. Another yellow one for Øystein. Tricky chicane there. You see how much curb you have to take. Really unsettles the car. Doesn't like to jump that much. And now it's just the final corner. Try and see. Good exit. Crosses the line. It's a yellow sector, but it is an improvement. Quarter of a second there, so back up to an 18th gap to Christopher Dunk. That's gonna have to find something now. There's only 7 minutes left of qualifying session. 6.5. Also remember you have to do an outlap, so you have to start rolling up his sleeves if you want to do anything again. Øystein's quite dominant display here at the first part of the qualifying. Oh, little bit of a spin there in the background. Looks like that was Quinton Verdonk, so he is pushing. Don't worry about that, but he is pushing the car, perhaps just a little too much. Seems to be going, so we'll have to do some qualifying here with damaged tires, but might still be able to do a little bit of improvement. Didn't look like it was too bad.
Yeah, looking to find improvement. Apologies there. I believe we had some audio issues that should be resolved now, if I'm not wrong. So if everyone in the chat could let me know if you can hear both myself and Ule and some in-game audio as well, that'd be much appreciated. So, not massive improvements out there at the moment. Albert Preem looking fairly good on this lap, but then he goes yellow in sector 2. Quinton Verdonk not finding any improvement, but it's obviously a bit of a warm-up lap for him, I believe, this time round, and we saw him find big improvement as he went on to the second lap with the tyres a bit more up to temperature. Alex Kopp potentially looking to improve with improved first sector and then a couple of yellows to follow. Quinton Verdonk finishes that out lap, so he'll be starting that push now. Just about time for 3 laps if you're properly pushing. And you think you can finish that lap before the session times out.
Time still found by Albert Preem. Not too far behind Quinton Verdonk. Improve here this time around, but still some time left to find it. 4.5 minutes now. It's starting to tighten up a little bit for all of the GTP drivers. Ryan Walker there, actually, if you see in the bottom, found a purple sector at the end, so might also find Øystein improving even more than he has right now. But it's a little bit of an odd qualifying session, I'd say. If you take a look at the GT3, it's, yeah, there was some chunks taken from some of the lap times, but mostly in the beginning here, it's, yeah, well, half a second, then 2.5 tenths. So a lot of lap time that found is not as close as it was in the GT3. And you see Øystein, 2 yellow sectors, but a purple one as well.
And
like also seeming to grip up a little bit more. Quinton Verdonk doing a little bit of a burnout. Pit lane, 3 minutes left now for him to get out.
it's like Quinton had a problem on that lap, retired back to the pit lane. But Øystein carrying on.
The yellow doesn't look like it's going to be a big improvement for the Norwegian driver.
Struggled to get to the line now and beat that time, and he's not going to beat that time.
Also looks like he was sacrificing that last corner to just get another good lap in. 44.8, so it's not a fast lap. He just happened to have a purple sector in the middle of his outlap.
Ryan G. Walker finding improvements. But nothing incredible so far. Øystein's about to cross the timing line for Sector 1, and it's a pretty good Sector 1, but it's nothing purple. Ryan moves up to P2 with that purple final sector. That's good improvement for him.
Other drivers seem to have found a lot of lap time out of the track. Perhaps we will see Quinton do it as well. Albert Preem as well into the mix here, 1.5 tenths behind. Up and Christoph Stieler a little further away. Øystein Herford, purple sector. Here in the middle, just 2 sectors left. See if we can do on that. He's using an awful lot of lap time. Bitless curb there on the inside in the chicane. Didn't seem like he's gained him anything really. It's a yellow sector here in the final corner. Oh, big oversteer there on the exit. That's not gonna give him lap time, but he gets a purple sector in the end. Is it an improvement? Oh, it's...
It is a slight improvement, I believe. But he may have had an off-track. I think he had an off-track during the lap.
Oh, yeah.
So he'll be kicking himself there because he went about a tenth quicker. Secured that position a little bit.
Yeah, the steering there, that the wheel's starting to go. He's sliding quite a lot there. Ooh, big moments there.
Tyres possibly...
Can't really get the power into the tarmac.
Yeah, tyres possibly a little bit overworked, pushing a little bit too much in the Acura. It is naturally quite loose, quite oversteery compared to some of the other GTPs. Alex Kops finished his lap, found some improvement, but stays in P5. Looks like we've got a fairly close battle at the front here. Oyston maybe a little bit clear of the others as he pulls off. So let's go and follow Quinton.
Like we only have currently P3 driver out on track, has found some lap time compared to his own personal best. See if the green sector's almost finishing, comes up the chicane here. See how much he takes of that. Not actually, yeah, it could perhaps be used a bit more curb here, but let's see if it finds lap time regardless. Final corner looks to be doing okay on power and purple sector, and P2
He's back
is
on.
an improvement.
Yeah, moves back on to the front row.
Yeah, for Oyston. Quinton, sorry.
Yeah.
And the top 3 spots are taken by 3 different car manufacturers.
Yeah, it's great to see. So that
Great to
bot
see.
clearly from iRacing working effectively, and all cars are back in play. So Oyston was quickest overall in the end, but
Right. As your weekly reminder, we ask that the GT3 field leaves a big gap somewhere between 5 and 20 seconds to the hypercar field. Other than that, I wish you a lot of fun and I wish you the best of luck.
okay, so we're going to jump quickly to a recap of what happened in round 2, and then we're going to go and look at the results from qualifying and tell you the grid order. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, welcome back everybody to warm up. We're going to go through the grid now. Just give us a moment to get that graphic on screen. And there we go. So Oyston Herpert is on pole position, a winner from round 1 and round 2. Quinton Verdonk not too far off the pace behind, and with a little bit of slipstream in the race can definitely stay in that fight. Same goes for Ryan Walker in P3, Albert Preem in P4, Alex Kopp in P5, and Christoph Steiler in P6. We'll be looking to find a little bit more pace going into the race session. Now we're going to go through GT3 all as one, as we usually do. Obviously points are decided in their own class, but we'll go through them all as one. So Fabio Ponta on pole once again, Daniel Maggioni in P2, Vincent Ossoms in P3. So good start for the Ferraris. 1, 2, 3. Daniel Morphy in P4 in the BMW. Great to see. Ignas Vincarevskis in P5, the highest placed AM driver. Luigi Lespolini in P6. Davide Favaro in P7. Dominic Knockel in P8. Kiko Lakaye in P9. And Oriol Falk in P10. Then you've got to go to P11 before you find Adam Jarvis, the next placed AM driver. So that's going to give Vincent, sorry, not Vincent, that's going to give a great opportunity to his championship rival Ignas in the race to try and make up some ground. Jose Villarejo in P12, Alvaro Valcarce in P13, Chris van Stuyland in P14. Sorry, but the Stuyland is missing. We'll fix that for next round. Charlie Lord in P15, Denzel Deruva in P16, Matteo Lemeroy in P17, and Jesus Savadera in P18. Now, go back to warm up, about 20 seconds left, but still plenty of on track action.
Quick, you would have noticed that the gap in GT3 is not that far. It's not as far as it is in the GTP field. I'm sure that we're gonna have some close racing here. People spinning out in warm up as well. If there's a time to spin out, it's now. But a lot of cars that's relatively close to each other, so I'm expecting some great tight racing. And as I said earlier, there's a lot of overtaking opportunities.
Yeah.
Definitely an hour that I'm looking forward to.
We've got leaders that are a little bit far ahead of the pack, but that advantage will quickly disappear when they don't have a tow and everyone else does, and behind them we've got very, very tight fields. So we're still going to get some great racing. And that AM battle will be interesting to watch as well, and see if Adam can make his way towards Ignas, or if Ignas can stay ahead of those pro drivers and perhaps even make some progress and try for the overall podium. We've seen him do it before, so there's no reason why he can't do it again, and he'll definitely be trying to do that. So we weren't showing the AM Pro split on the graphics just during those sessions because they're all gridded as one class. But we will get them on here for you now, and there you go.
Like we have our cars here out on track, so we are ready to go. Seconds time. There he is. Our Ford Mustang leading the GTP cars away. Øystein Herfjord, of course, pole setter for the GTP. Leading us currently says he's P2, but we'll start from pole position.
So coming through that GP layout chicane, the tighter of the two options available to race control. And coming into the final corner now, Øystein, he's done this several times before. He knows how to lead the grid from pole position, say the grid, but it is of course a rolling start, but he knows how to lead them from pole position very well. And when's he going to go? I think he's gone. We could hear it in the brief onboard we saw, and he comes across to cover off his rival very aggressively. And he's going to give a toe down to turn 1. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some radio messages coming in to race control about that start. Maybe some people thought the sweep was a bit aggressive. It was quite hard to tell from that angle how it was. And GT3, here we go. Fabio Ponta leads the field, quickly cuts across his rival in the Porsche. And the Red Eagle Racing Ferrari is going to try and follow him through. And Daniel Morphy in the BMW is also going to try and follow through. Good start for him, as we appear to all be making it through turn 1 fairly well. And no,
great start from Fabio Ponta as well. Carbon copy of what Oysen did to Quinton and then Vincent. Our Sims that's capitalizing on slow-moving Daniel Maglioni, so that's your top 3 currently for GT3, close right behind him. A little bit of gap here for Fabio, that's already pulling away, but Vincent to be on it. These first couple of laps is going to be really difficult with the cold tires and the heavy cars, and of course the pressure from having 17, 16 cars behind you. Oystein also putting away a little bit, Quinton half a second behind. A nice gap and really clean start here as we see 2 people go side by side. Background.
Jose Villaretto ahead of Adam Jarvis. That will help Ignis in this race if it stays. That way we could see Ignis looking for an opportunity in the back. Surprisingly, no major incidents so far on lap 1. Just a couple of 1Xs from side contact. So Oystein, the GTP leaders, are crossing the line as we speak. Some really close battles in this pack. Ignis looking for a move down the inside. He shows his nose, but he thinks better of it. But they're all going to pack up in the chicane, and they all clobber the curbs. I think Ignis will be looking for a move here. He's almost pushing the Audi through that corner of Dominic Knockel in car number 21. Now he's got this big long straight to get that massive toe down into turn 1.
Remember, Ignis currently an AM driver, but he has all of his right to fight every other car out on track, really close to the Audi there in front, manages to not touch it. Great braking from Ignis, but he's looking to make his move up. He also wants to see what it's like to fight in this pro field, sorry. And he's doing really well. Fabio in the stands, not being broke.
Fabio Ponta pulled a second ahead. No DRS, of course, but that will help him out in terms of the tow that the cars behind will be getting. I believe Matteo Lemre has had an incident. Let's take a look. Oh no!
There we go. Benson.
See something else happens here. He's doing pretty well. Oh, he loses it on the rear end, and thankfully everyone avoids him pretty well. Spins up the rears to get going, but he does get going. So major incident avoided there. Marked down as no action, perhaps unsurprisingly by race control. Ryan Walker looking for a move on the DLR car ahead of him, but unable to find a good opportunity to pull that off. Luigi Nespolini is now all over the back of the AM driver, who currently blocks his way from making progress further up the pro field. But I tell you what, we just saw 1 lap ago, Ignis was the one doing this to the Audi ahead. So
please check the replay. He was slowing down in the middle of it.
Not sure what that was. Car say on the radio say that someone was slowing down in the middle of the track, so that'll perhaps be investigated. And we've got a slow down there for Dominic Knockel. Clobbered the curbs a little bit too much and gets himself the furled black flag. Same for Davide Ferraro, and that's cost Davide Ferraro as well, as he drops behind his teammate Luigi Nespolini. And is he going to lose out to the Mustang of Oriol Falk as well? He is. Into turn 1, he's going to try and fight back and not lose another position. So that's kind of freed up Ignis to try and make some progress ahead, and if he doesn't do that quickly and get back in the tow, he's going to be under big threat from behind.
Yeah, Luigi Nespolini, as we see him here, the 107 car currently P5, which means that overall, because he's not seen as Ignis in front of him, the overall standings, he's actually P6 overall, and Ignis is P5 overall, so doing really well here, the AM driver. Even though he's up against some tough opponents, the upper team here, doesn't manage to break in time and has to cut through the chicane. That's a slowdown as well as we saw. Well, some cars, and it is a really difficult chicane, especially when you're a bit under pressure. You want to try and maximize your speed into the chicane, and then a little bit of a full fuel tank. It's just not ending well sometimes. So, here, Daniel Murphy Porsche, no, BMW hunting down Daniel Maggioni, so the two Daniels finding it out. Ignis right behind them, trying to see if he can catch up to the two. In Daniel Murphy and Daniel Maggioni fighting before. They are really competent racers. So how this is gonna unfold. I remember an incident in Imola where the two Daniels come together and the third Daniel comes driving right past them. Yeah, it was an interesting race, but it was also I believe they were battling for P1 actually. P1 and P2 was really it was a great race at Imola one, and now we are here.
Nespolini looking to make the move into turn 1, but he's not quite close enough to do it on the brakes. Which is what you got to do. You got to get your car alongside before you get to the exit of turn 1, so you can have a little battle through this section. Another good opportunity is these next two braking zones are not very heavy, but you can quickly put your driver ahead in an awkward position by putting yourself slightly offline. The battle is heating up behind as well, as Oriol Folt is looking to make a move on Davide Favaro, who's struggling a little bit since he had that slowdown.
Yeah, Luigi also not wanting to risk it too much. Of course, he wants to overtake Ignis and trying to catch up to Daniel Murphy as well as Ignis wants to, but he's still P5 in his own class, so that's a lot of important points that he can take on the rest of the championship. We're only halfway through. I mentioned earlier round 4 out of 8. Oriol Folt in his Mustang, trying hunting down the Ferrari, getting really close to him. Might be able to make a little bit of a move into the chicane if he's brave and if he gets a good exit out of this corner. Ferrari doesn't have the slipstream in front, although we see in front it looks like Luigi is making a move on Ignis, and Luigi is now in front. And I think Ignis is just gonna say, okay, you go. And then we're gonna try catch up to the Daniels. Meanwhile, right behind him, he's now gonna be hunted down by David and Oriol at the same time. They're closing in. Gonna have his rearview mirror full of Ferraris. The replay here of Luigi making a pass. Quite simple up the inside. Ignis realizes that there's not much he can do. Brakes a little heavier and then got right in behind the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, very difficult in that braking zone to have any chance of fighting back, really, once the car gets alongside you like that. So that's that position decided, and Ignis will need to see if he can stay alongside and try and get back past, but he still leads the Anfield at this point. And we'll go back to live images. So Ignis isn't giving it up. The sun appears to have come out a little bit on track, which will change the complexity of some of the battles in this race. Alvaro Valcarce, sorry, still looking to get past some of these cars ahead that are maybe holding them up a little bit.
Yeah, still an interesting battle here in the GT3M. You listen it, even though Ignis is gone and Adam Jarvis also has a nice gap. It's still 4 cars that's within a few seconds. There's not a lot.
Ignis.
Even though we are in of course the lower class, we still have a great racing, just as we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Ignis still on the back of the car in front. I believe it's Luigi Nespolini, if I'm not mistaken, but Davide Favaro right on the back of him. No move in the chicane like there was last lap round for his teammate. So he'll have to see if he can make it stick somewhere else as he dives for the pits. So early pit stop for Davide Favaro after 10 minutes in this race. He's going to come in and refuel. But I believe he went in the pits with a slowdown, and that's going to give him a black flag. So he's going to have to serve a hold penalty. So poor decision there from the driver to pit and not serve that slowdown before he got to the pit entrance. That's going to cost him big time.
Going too fast into the pit. That's a story we've heard before in the Install Racing series, so I remember a little. incident at Imola, no, Monza, sorry, last year that cost championship. Oh, Chris Verstrailand late breaking into turn 1 was almost clips. I didn't see who it was, a purple car in front of him. Really lucky to not get tangled in any kind of incident there. Really brave.
Yeah, let's take one more look at this battle if we can. So he's going to go deep on the brakes, trying to get past, is he? Yeah, deep on the brakes, trying to get past the car in front, and then Charlie Lord is going to switch back and get just back ahead of him. So really, really nicely done there from Charlie Lord. And the GTP traffic making its way through as well. Always a scary moment. Davide Ferrari's cleared that black flag now. But after spending nearly a whole... Well, he spent a long time in the pit lane, I believe. Oh, and he's out of the car. He's retired from the car.
Oh.
Kicking himself over that mistake, I'm sure. Once you've done it, you won't do it again, I can tell you that.
Not pushing your love into the pit lane. That's one thing that's for sure. But that turn 1 is just really difficult. Yeah, we saw that with Chris. It's because it's going a little downhill right as you start to brake, and then if you brake just a little too late, it's just gonna bite you in the rear end.
Take a look at what happened in GT3. Albert Preem has moved his way on to the podium. So let's take a look at the pass for P3. So on the back straight, doesn't quite get past there, but he's going to use the GT3 really smartly in the braking zone to move ahead of his rival and gets the car in between himself and the driver behind for that chicane as well. So really, really smart move there to secure the podium as it stands.
Yeah, great move to box him in right behind the other American car, the Mustang. And it's just annoying to be on the receiving end of that kind of move. But there's not much you can do. Smart tactics with the GT3 traffic. Cross it out.
Chris Van Stuyland still looking for a way past Charlie Lord after that battle we saw a few laps ago, but the GTP car is going to get in his way momentarily, and he was lost out much more than Charlie did in that exchange, so he's going to have to try and be a bit more aggressive to try and make up the time now. And all of his
seeming to gaining a little bit here. I was hoping he could have used the GTP traffic a little bit more and try to make his way up, but well within the slipstream, it seems. So gonna be able to catch up in a few laps time. Goes a little wide there. I think it's only gonna be a 1x for him, luckily. But yeah, you can also use a lot of the exit of this track. That's the thing. That's what you notice here, especially with the GT3 cars. But going a little bit too wide is just going to end up with a slowdown, and that's going to hurt you even more than the lap time you can potentially gain. Chris makes the chicane a little bit tight, it seems like. Also not helping with catching up, but a little bit of a straight here. Or a long straight here is not just a little bit. Trying to see if his exit is going to be good enough. It's also a little train here. You see two Mustangs and an Audi in front. Now switches to Kiko Akale.
Looking for the move on Oriel Falk in the Mustang ahead. And closely followed by, not sure who that is, car number 21, Dominic Knockel. Closely following this battle. And he's going to look for a move, is he? But no, the hypercar's going to come through. And he's not going to yield. No, he's not, because he doesn't want to lose time in this battle. And the hypercar is going to lose out. He's now going to try and go around the outside. And he doesn't get round. And that's an incident. So race control will surely review that. And see what happened.
Nickel being the fortunate GT3 soldier to be taken out. Of course, a little difficult to tell from the angle that we had, but an impatient GTP that doesn't make its way through traffic in time, and then you end up in an unlucky situation for all parts.
I believe Dominic Knockel has had incident.
Kiko a little bit here, gets a bit of a gap.
Ah, this is the incident that Dominic Knockel had then, so he also lost out because of this and got stuck behind that GTP. Very, very unfortunate for Dominic, that. Go back to live images then. Now that battle's been resolved.
He had to reset.
So Kiko, after all of that, managed to survive. Not everyone did, but he did. And he's all over the back of the car ahead. The Mustang of Oriole Fox still looking for a way through. And you can see how big that qualifying advantage is that Ignis secured, because he's now 10 seconds clear of his championship rival.
Race control, another one in the F1 chicane, I think.
Let's take a look at
a quarter into the first 15 minutes into the race. Might start to see some people boxing. Then the next 10 minutes, the first.
That's what happened to Jose, and that's put under investigation by race control fairly swiftly.
Is that the same Acura that took out Nickel?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it might be. Got taken out by Nickel, depending on how you see it.
I believe there's been another incident as well the following lap. Let's take a look. Oh, not the following lap. Where's this going to be? Into turn 1. I think somebody's going to get caught out here. Oh, Alvaro and Charlie. It's going to be into turn 1, I think. Let's take a look, see what happens. Oh, and it's a late send. And Charlie turns in, doesn't see the car on the inside. That's going to have to be reviewed by race control, you would assume. So we'll see what they think of that in once it's been reviewed.
That seemed really late from Alvaro. But there's just nothing you can do when you start locking up the tires. And you have to turn so sharply.
Ryan Walker still all over the back of Albert Preem for P3. Kiko Lakaye still sat in that 1 second bubble, but struggling for a way past. Charlie Lord is still on the back of Alvaro after that incident, but Carlos Villarejo, or Jose Villarejo, as he shows on your screen, apologies, is still in this tight battle, and he's made his way back into it after that incident, due to the incident for the cars ahead, and that's apologies, that's Alvaro a little bit wide on the exit, and he takes the opportunity to pit to avoid being passed on track. About 20 minutes in is time we'd expect to see these cars in the pit lane anyway. It's going to be difficult around this track to make it work on one stop, but I'm sure we'll still see those who will try. Daniel Maggioni right on the back of Vincent Ossoms. Not sure what's happened here, but he is. Only a couple of drivers to pit so far, so we'll see these guys in the pit lane soon. I wonder if Vincent has realised he needs to save a little bit more fuel, and that's why he's fallen into the clutches of Daniel Maggioni, who doesn't need to save perhaps quite as much.
Yeah, we
GTP.
saw in the qualifying session the Ferraris were really fast, but now it's actually a Porsche that's contesting for P2. At least provisionally.
Oh, and Vincent comes across and blocks a GTP, who then dives to the inside. And are they all going to get through? They all come out the other side really nicely. I think we're going to see a good opportunity for an overtake here. Can Daniel Maggioni make his way past Vincent Ossoms for P2, going into the braking zone of the chicane? He's going to have a look. He's going to have a look. No, he doesn't. Backs out. Decides to stick behind and perhaps try his luck in turn 1, as long as neither of them pit, which they don't. They both stay out for another run. Now, can he make the move into turn 1? That's what's going to be crucial here. Tucked up nicely. Very, very close to the car in front. There's going to be a time. It's going to be now. And is he going to do it? He thinks about it. He thinks about it and doesn't make the move. Trying his best here, but really struggling to find an opportunity for that move in the Porsche. But he's going to try it here. Down the inside. And is he going to make it work? And he's through. Very, very impressive move from Daniel Maggioni there, who couldn't find a way past, but makes it work in perhaps a irregular place.
Yeah, but it's that really narrow, funny section there. It's really wide between the first couple corners, and then turns into a really narrow corner. And Daniel takes most of advantage of that, going a little bit late, heavy braking, and then he can make his way through. Yeah, impressive move from Daniel Maggioni. Let's see if he can keep it going. He's already got a 6/10 gap to Vincent, but Vincent's still gonna have a little bit of a strip scene, and of course is in a very fast Ferrari, so top speed advantage going his way. Now 21 minutes into the race. Daniel, depending on how it's gonna go with Vincent right behind. He also got Daniel Murphy in 4th place. Yeah, just about the same gap as Vincent has to Daniel. Might be thinking about him, and if they start fighting, he might be going into the pit. Daniel Maggioni try and make a little bit of an undercut, get some lap time and some clear air that he can work with. Try and see Daniel Maggioni. Wouldn't be the first time that he shows why he's on top of most of the field.
It seems to be clearing off ever so slightly. Obviously pretty difficult when the car's behind her in your tow. But
it's also, of course, a fight going on. Just 2 cars behind Daniel Maggioni. It's a fight for P4 with Daniel Murphy and Luigi Nespolino.
now 22 minutes into this race as he briefly blinks out of the session. Ryan Walker still close up front in the GTP, but struggling to perhaps find the opportunity to get past. But I tell you what, this is going to help him, as Albert Preem gets stuck up behind a GT3. And is he still going to be stuck behind in the final corner? He's not, so a breath of fresh air. But Ryan Walker's not going to lose out too much, I don't think, if he can get his foot down still nicely on the exit. And he does, so the gap stands at just under a second, 0.8 of a second. Slightly compromised exit for Ryan Walker. Tell you who is close though, Luigi Nespolini on Daniel Morphy. Daniel Morphy close to his teammate ahead, but perhaps working together. Obviously not driving the same car, but the BMW and the Ferrari ahead of Vincent Awesome, our teammates. Can tell from the livery. So perhaps not attacking his teammate too much and defending more against Luigi Nespolini.
It's going to be interesting to see how many inter-team tactics we're going to have between these two drivers, because both of them want to be within the podium positions, but they're also not interested in taking each other out or inviting anybody else into the podium contention if they can be free of that. Luigi Nespolini is going to have a great big chunk of slipstream from that. The huge box that the BMW is. Oh, someone into the pit.
Daniel Maggioni into the pit lane.
Maggioni, yeah. So he is going for the undercut, as I was thinking that he would have. Because he's gonna come out now and gonna get into some kind of clear air. Might be some traffic to work with, but we see as long as Luigi Nespolini is gonna have to try and fight with Daniel Murphy here, and Vincent might also have to manage it a little bit. They're gonna lose time to each other, and then it's gonna benefit Daniel Maggioni in the end.
Yeah, Ignis
not too
nice
sure how that's gonna impact his gap to Fabio Ponte. He seemed to be well clear of the rest of the podium contenders, or top 5 for that matter.
Yeah, I think the lead was about 5.5 seconds, so we'll see where it is when it all plays out. The lead sort of stopped growing quite so much once Daniel Maggioni had taken that sort of lead of the second bit of the pack, so P2 downwards. So we'll see if he's able to make any impressions in this second stint, but perhaps that advantage that Fabio's got means he'll need a lot less fuel in this next stint. Gonna need to put one less lap in, you'd imagine. So that'll save him a few seconds in the pits.
Yeah, and also just manage his car, his tires, his fuel economy, I should say. A lot of factors that goes into racing than just trying to move around as fast as possible because that's gonna hurt you in multiple ways. And we are still not even halfway through the race, so let's see. We're also gonna see another pit stop. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, Luigi Nespolini still looking for a way by, but he can't make it work, so he takes the call to go into the pit lane. I believe you are allowed to cross that line that he crossed, so nobody panic who's spectating just yet, unless he gets given a black flag as he enters the pit lane, and he doesn't, so he's fine. And he's going to go into the box now, but the cameraman in the helicopter clearly hasn't quite realised that. Daniel Morphy, now just the battle between him and his teammate to play out on track, because Ignis has come into the pits. It's going to give Adam Jarvis the lead very briefly until he comes into the pit lane, although we've seen Adam Jarvis work some wonders on strategy this season already, so I wonder if he's going to be able to do something again today. But 16 seconds is a big gap to make up in the pit lane. Got a lot of the leaders in GTP into the pit lane as well, Quinten Verdonk being the main one of them. Oysen Herford has stayed out for at least one more lap, so we'll see how that plays out once everyone's come out of the pits. But it looks like 26 minutes is about as far as anyone can make it, so we will still need that splash with about 10 minutes to go. Apart from, there was one GT3 driver, Davide Favaro, who came in earlier, wasn't it? But he's now out of the race, so he won't be playing the alternate strategy in this race. Let's take a look at
It's a little bit alternative to leave the session.
Yes, it's a very alternative strategy. Let's take a look at the pass put together by Alvaro Valcarce to make the move on Chris van Stuylen for P18. If we can even see it from here, and I tell a lie, that pass was made in the pit lane.
We will clear as he goes into turn 1. That's a roller coaster as well at the Nurburgring. It's a funny story with that one. 12 million euros, sorry, spent on a roller coaster that was accessible for 4 days.
We need to point out here that Daniel Mascioni has come out behind Luigi Nespolini after they're both pitted. Take a look at the pit stop time. So Luigi Nespolini spent 32.4 seconds in the pit lane, and Daniel Maggioni spent 35.9 seconds in the pit lane. So clearly having to fuel up a little bit more than the car ahead, and that's cost him a bit of on-track position. So he'll really need to push now to make sure he doesn't lose any more, because if he lost out to Nespolini, you'd expect him to also lose out to Ossoms and Morphy once their pit cycles are complete. Adam Jarvis is now in the pit lane. I think Ignis is about to come past him. We might even get to see them both in shot here. We do. And Ignis is passed long before Jarvis is even moving.
And what's even more important is that Fabio Ponta gonna extend this gap even more. Now, almost 9 seconds between him and P2. A little bit of lockup.
A bit of lockup for Quinten Verdonk, and that's for Albert Preem right on his tail. About 1 and a bit, nearly 1.5 seconds back after the pit cycle. So advantage Preem in the pit cycle, it seems, using a little bit less fuel than the car ahead. So now he's just got the challenge of going to close that gap a little bit more and make the move now that he's past Ryan Walker, who was behind that first stint. So has the free air allowed him to perhaps make a little bit more progress, and we expect to see Oyston still leading out front, perhaps as expected. Tell you what, top 4 cars in GT3 still haven't pitted, and I'm sure everyone can read the clock, but 29 minutes and 50 seconds, that looks like a one-stop strategy to me for Fabio Ponta and Vincent Ossoms. Daniel Morphy going to be incredibly tight. Oriel Falk as well will be in the pit lane yet. So is it a one-stop strategy for these cars? They've made it to half-race distance, so it is definitely possible, but it's going to be very tight, because obviously you could end up doing slightly more than an hour running with the way the session works. There's been an instant. Christoph Steiler, let's take a look at what happened here. Pull out of the pit lane. and make his way down into turn 1. So what's going to happen here? Down into turn 1, deep on the brakes a little bit, and just goes a little bit wide. Not really that much of an instant, is it? So we'll move on from that one.
Misjudge of breaking point.
Yeah, easy to do when you're coming out the pit lane. You're on that rubbery line. Sorry, not rubbery, that slippery line on the inside of all the marbles, and you can't quite use your regular braking references. So I believe that would be the cause of that.
Yeah, I think so as well. Talk about one pit stops in this race. I think Fabio Ponta, he's gonna have the benefit of being alone up there in P1. Yeah, okay, Luigi Nespolino right now 2.5 seconds behind, but he can still manage his fuel a little bit more than some of his competitors can do. You see, if they start racing, they can't really lift as much as Fabio.
Yeah, Nespolini and Maggioni
has
is...
better circumstances.
Yeah, I think so.
Those kind of tactics.
He's one of the drivers who can make it on one stop as well. Nespolini and Maggioni pitted a little bit earlier, and they won't be able to make it on one stop. So it's going to need to be 2 stops for those drivers. So
Oriol Folch as well, I believe, pitted just around the half an hour mark. But he's got a driver right behind him in the BMW, Kiko Lacale.
I believe Kiko is on the 2 stops, so he needs to make his way past as soon as possible, use all the fuel he can, and accept that the driver in front has perhaps got the preferred strategy, but now you've got to do everything in your power to try and make sure you still finish ahead.
Yeah, Daniel Murphy, of course, is going to be on a 2-stopper. Oriol might know that. I'm thinking he's going to almost 8-second gap. That's going to be possible for him. If he's going for a 1-stopper and Daniel's going for a 2-stopper, then he can suffer a bit more with lifting and try and back up Kiko as well. So if he goes for a 1-stop and puts Kiko in a worse situation.
I think Kiko knows what's going on now.
Right here, but
he's looking
he's on
for
his tail.
a way past.
On his tail. But there are some places where you can try and play it a bit smart. Like right here, park it a bit on the apex. Perhaps not so much here because you have a great, not a great set, but you have a little bit of a straight where the speed matters a little bit more. But yeah, we'll have to see what Oriol does. It's one thing is talking about it, and another thing is executing it perfectly. He also has a guy to race all at the same time, so there's a lot of things that have to go up.
I think best opportunity for Oriol so far seems to be turn 1. He didn't quite have the overspeed into the chicane at the end of a lap to make the move work, but we'll see if he can try it this time round. Perhaps he's realised what's going on now with the strategy a little bit more and knows what he needs to do. You can see how much he closes up in the braking zones because the car in front is lifting and coasting to try and make his way through the corners and through the lap using as little fuel as possible. Quinton Verdonk sets a personal best lap time, and he's taken a few seconds out of the car in front of him since the pit stops. So no chance into the bus into the bus stop. Sorry, into the final chicane for Kiko Lakaye. Now the big opportunity is surely going to be into turn 1 as the camera angle decides we don't need to see it, but we're going to get them running down into turn 1 from this far away angle. Is he going to go for the move? He is going to go for the move on the inside. Nicely done, slots in just ahead, makes it work really well there. Big move for Kiko Lakaye. That allows him to try and make up ground on the cars in front and try and beat these 1-stoppers on pace. So great move there to secure some track position.
Yeah, and of course it's not ideal to be behind another car, but it once again comes down to that 1 and 2 stop strategies. I think Oriol can benefit greatly from this, being behind another car and having this slip scene, as we see it here again. Kiko into turn 1, really late braking, really well done as well. We've seen how many cars just this first half an hour that have misjudged the braking into turn 1, but Kiko manages to do it quite nicely and does it from quite far back as well. A little bit of an instant here with Ignis.
Big move there from Ignis. And he's going to fight back, surely.
I think it's Daniel, not Magioni, Daniel Murphy, perhaps.
Daniel Murphy, yeah.
A little bit of a side shunt there.
It's his way back past, so.
Ignis, of course, once again, you want to be in front of the other cars, but he's P1 in the M class quite comfortably as well. 16 seconds down to Adam Jarvis.
And the two cars are close
phase.
again, going into the final chicane. And Ignis is looking for a way past to try and advance onto the overall podium if he can. Not sure when Daniel Morphy pit. Was he a one-stopper? Yeah, looks like he is on the one-stop. So Ignis on the two-stop, as we saw earlier on. So, like we said, with the previous battle, he needs to try and make his way through. Because he's sat behind a car who's trying to make it on one less stop. And if he stays ahead of him while doing that, Ignis is destined to finish behind him on track. Needs to get past now so he can make that crucial impact.
He really is looking for it, Ignis. So really late sent there. It's a slowdown. I think it's a slowdown for Daniel Murphy. Either a slowdown or Daniel is saying, you know what, Ignis, you can have this. I'm not here to risk anything.
I think that might be the case. No slowdown showing up on the race control log, so he gets past.
Also seems to be getting up into speed relatively quickly. So Ignis just showing that perhaps he is in the wrong category. Also had a really dominating season last season. Really putting everybody into the wall. Apart from the last race, he actually had a little bit of a competition at Daytona. Don't remember who it was, but close battling between Ignis and the Mercedes. Ignis actually pulling a nice gap here on Daniel Magioni.
You can see that that extra fuel he's able to burn, allowing him to pull away pretty effectively.
I think Daniel Murphy, sorry, not Magioni, but Daniel Murphy might have. No, I'm mixing it all up. Daniel Murphy, I believe it is, in the BMW.
Yep.
Might have actually wanted to get a little bit of a tow and do some fuel saving. He's not that far off 7 seconds. Of course, it's some lap time that he has up to Vincent as Austin's, but we saw it just before 3 seconds difference in pit time from Daniel Magioni. And what's the green is Purino? Yeah, 3 seconds, so that's half of the gap between Daniel Murphy and Vincent right now. Gone just in the pits. So if he can get up and get that slipstream again. And it is just difficult to sit here and talk about all the different strategies, because there's so many things you can do. You can go fast. You can try and be a bit more lenient on your fuel economy. Everything can add up in your favor. Just have to perfect it, and it's a perfection that's a difficult part when you also add in the factor of traffic all at the same time.
Now this is Jesus Savadera Vilches trying to make his way past Matteo Lemeroy for P7 in AM class. And he's going to try and go around the outside. So late on the brakes. Able to carry a lot more speed than the BMW, sorry, from the Mustang ahead.
Bit of a defending line there from Matteo Lemeroy. He's someone that can't be lenient on his fuel right now when he's got a Ferrari so close to his rear. He also wants to keep his P7. Matteo Lemeroy, 30 seconds up to Jose Rayo. So this is the fight that he's gonna get. I don't think he's gonna be lucky enough to fight for anything else. But a fight he is giving. great defending from Matteo, Frenchman, in an American car. We're working for now.
Yeah, closer battles throughout the field will probably come when we get towards the pit stop. Everyone right now, particularly the one stoppers, trying to make the fuel work, so playing everything pretty safe. Jesus still all over the back of Matteo though, not going to give up 2 temps back, so is a great opportunity now going to be into the chicane. The GTP traffic seems to have helped him bunch up a little bit. He is gaining quite quickly down the straight, but is it going to be enough to make that heavy braking move? We've seen him be more confident on the brakes than Matteo, and he isn't able to make it work, but he does close up quite a lot during the compression in the braking zone. They're now got to use all of the track here. He's staying a little bit close behind Matteo, and I wonder if it's just hurting his exit speed a little bit, but I tell you what, he stays tucked up very nicely here, a lot closer than he was last time round. Loses a little bit of speed on the straight, a little bit of momentum goes, and he does show his nose, but just showing his nose isn't going to get him past, and he isn't able to pass. He's so close in the corners, but just unable to get the move done when he needs to.
Yeah, but he's getting into the head of Matteo. See Matteo not being willing to go as far out in some of these corners as Jesus is. Try and notice it a bit on the entries. He's going a little bit on the defensive line. It's not really a defensive line, but it is less than Jesus is doing, and that's also gonna hurt Matteo. The apex a little bit here, but gets a great exit from Jesus. So no move here.
Seems just like a
into
matter.
Another heavy braking zone.
Yeah, seems like it should just be a matter of time for Jesus to get past it, but not seen him make it stick so far. I've had a few attempts. Maybe he'll try something a little bit different this lap. And he is going to have a look here, and he is going to make it work as long as he can get it stopped. And Matteo sweeps back round the outside. That was absolutely mega from the driver of the Mustang to stay ahead there in that tricky braking zone.
I think Jesus thought that he had it there for a second, but Matteo is not giving up. Says no thank you, I'll park you behind me for now. Just absolutely sends it back on the outside. Great defending from Matteo. And Jesus once again has to go into his thinking box, going through his overtaking book, trying to figure out what can he do now. He is close to Matteo, just about 4/10. It's going to be difficult to go for a late move here, but he can set it up. We've seen Ignas making a good move just in the next 2 corners here. Matteo is going to be really far out wide, and then if Jesus is a little brave, perhaps also a little closer, he can go up the inside, but not this time around. Matteo doesn't look like he's getting the most out of this corner, or these few corners here. Hurting his exit a little bit as we have a little bit of a straight. This was just managing to get really close to the exhaust system of that Mustang. But Matteo just gets he seems to be quite consistent, get a nice exit down towards this hairpin. And then also a good exit up towards the Schumacher S.
Yeah, Jesus.
But it also is quite consistent about this 4/10 gap between the two. And it is the closest battle we are having on track right now.
Kiko Lacaille a little bit further up has made his second stop. Yes, he has. Luigi Nespolini has also been in for his second stop now. Alvaro and Dominic both in for second stops as well. So we'll watch that sort of off screen and keep an eye on the timing screen on the left hand side of your video. And we'll keep the cameras focused on this battle between Jesus Savadera and Matteo Lemeroy. Matteo just seems to have the edge in just enough in the braking zones and just enough of control over his car through the corners, and very well placed during some of the corners to make sure that Jesus is struggling to make the move to get past.
Yeah, he is. Matteo, of course, has to try and be a little worried here of the Ferrari, but he is also putting Jesus under a lot of pressure. He's giving him the opportunities to overtake, but he's also saying it's not going to be an easy up the inside. As we saw a few laps ago, Jesus tries to go for a map, but go for a move, but Matteo just says no and goes around the outside again. And another great exit here. It's just really difficult for Jesus to do anything. He is getting close, getting into the slipstream, but he's just not got that tiny bit of edge over the Mustang that he needs to get past. Gotta be frustrating sitting in that purple and black Ferrari. Gap is increasing 8/10 now.
Yeah, struggling to make the move. Luigi Nespolini, though, is right on the back of Oriol Falk, having made his second stop, so he's flying now while the cars ahead are realising that the job may be a little bit more difficult than they initially planned. Not quite sure how far off his lead that puts him. Let's try and take a look at the gaps to leader. So, oh, that's positions made in a race.
Remember,
apologies.
Oriol also is currently on a one-stopper. Or at least we are guessing that he is, since he stopped past the 30-minute mark. So he is gonna have to try and keep Luigi behind him.
Gonna have to try, but he's gonna have a lot less fuel. So, like you say, gonna be really, really difficult. I think Luigi probably has the best opportunity here.
In an ideal situation, Luigi would have fueled a little more than he has to, so he has a bit more margin to give away. Of course, we don't know the fuel consumption of that Mustang, but I'm guessing it's pretty high with the big engine. But it is it's quite funny. It's another Mustang and Ferrari and move.
Yeah, so Luigi,
are the same.
with that fuel advantage, going to be looking for a move into turn one, surely. And he is going to have a nosy. And is he going to make it work? He scares the car in front off the road. And is he going to be ahead by the time they get to the braking zone? No, because the car alongside him is going to fight back, and he's not going to give it up very easily. They're still battling for what is P6 and P5 on the road, and Nespolini just slots ahead after a couple of tense corners side by side. Really good battling from the two drivers there.
Yeah, Luigi making a great defensive moves after he overtakes, but I think Oriol might have something to say. It seemed like a very late move from Luigi. Yes. I think Oriol, if he didn't back out, that would have ended in tears. Let's try and see. Doesn't look like he's come on the radio now.
Not heard anything yet. Could always file that post-race report, but maybe Oriol thinking, well, it was kind of inevitable. He was going to get past me at some point. So maybe thinks if Nespolini scutters off up the road, he'll be able to pass some of the other pro cars and perhaps give some points back to Oriol and the drivers he's fighting in the championship. But I think we're going to see the two-stop drivers come through very aggressively. Daniel Maggioni is yet to pit for that second stop. I think we'll see him in perhaps this lap next time by, if not, because he'll have to make another splash to get to the end. And just as I say that, we see the P sign come on to indicate he is in the pit lane now. And where is Daniel Maggioni going to come out relative to these guys? He was just ahead of Nespolini, just behind Nespolini after the last set of stops. It's a really quick splash for just that last 10 minutes worth of fuel. And he is passed by Nespolini, perhaps as expected. But the critical thing here is going to be how much time is lost. And he's coming right out the pit lane now. But unfortunately for Daniel Maggioni, but perhaps crucially for Oriol, he comes out just behind Oriol, and that means he's going to have to pass at least one car before he can get on the back of Nespolini again.
Yeah, Oriol is going to be a bit of a buffer here. I'm not sure how much he's going to fight Daniel Maggioni behind him. Didn't seem to put up the greatest fight for Luigi, so you can imagine he's going to be quite happy getting what he can from this race. And then he's just going to let Daniel Maggioni go. Gets close enough, but we're also now getting into the final 10 minutes. Or is within the final 10 minutes, so he's also going to have to start thinking about his end results. This is probably the time where you would start to fight the other drivers as well.
Yeah, Fabio in a much better position, and Vincent Ossam's also in a pretty good position, but Fabio has 15 seconds to the car behind, so he can do some really big fuel saving if he needs to on the last couple of laps to make sure he gets to the end. Vincent can to a similar extent, but if Vincent has to lose that 12-second gap he has, that gives Fabio even more breathing room. So looking good for Fabio Ponta at this stage of the race. Ignis, we said he did such a good job in that qualifying session, but he's running P3 as it stands. I believe he will need to pit again to make it to the end, but he's currently got a 20-second lead over Adam Jarvis, so I think he's also going to have to pit to make it to the end. We'll just double check when Adam pitted. Pitted at 28 minutes, so yeah, he will have to pit to make it to the end. Ignis is in. We might see Adam Jarvis follow in this time round as well. Maggioni slowly creeping up to the back of Oriol Fogg. About a second back now. It was about 2.5, I think, when they came out the pit lane. So they're closing up. Ule, would you think we'll see them move in a similar place into turn one? Not seeing as much passing into the chicane as we expected. Where do you think is the best place for these guys to get past the one-stoppers?
Well, we've seen the most into turn one because it's one of the places where you could do the most amount of fuel saving. So if you catch somebody else off guard into turn one, you can make a move there. I think otherwise turn four, quite narrow left-hander. It's also going to be a great move if you can get a good enough exit off turn one. But yeah, there is a lot of overtaking opportunities, but we've only really seen those two, and only really turn one from what I've noticed. Only, I think, one move I can recall into the chicane. But yeah, you also need a good exit from the last corner, and we've also seen the Mustang being able to get some nice exits. And Porsche, of course, isn't the fastest car in a straight line, so yeah, I'm thinking turn 4 is probably going to be one of the better opportunities here for Daniel Maggioni. Let's see.
Let's see if he's able to be a bit
He's
closer
close
into
enough
the
now.
bus stop, but
within that second. Yep.
and see if the gap shrinks by about a tenth of a second in the braking zone, and he's able to gain massively sort of during the what would typically be braking zones, but a lift and coast zones for the car in front, and then also gaining quite massively on the acceleration as the car in front is perhaps being a bit more gentle than Maggioni is. And is he going to make the move into turn one? He's close enough to at least have a look. And
well, 10th is still a decent cent that he has to do, and he also doesn't want to risk it. He's still P6. It's still a good result for Daniel Maggioni, but you want to try and get past. Just gaining a lot of lap time.
what's going to be critical for the guys running a little bit further back is when the leaders of GTP take the white flag, 'cause that's going to determine how many laps there are for these guys. So you'd like to hope they're planning for the worst case scenario, but if there's anyone planning for one lap less than we actually end up with, they're going to end up in pretty big trouble. So keep your eye out for that. Nespolini now right on the back of Daniel Morphy as well, just up the road from these two. See how much it's cost Daniel Maggioni, that is, to be stuck behind Oriol Falk for his last few laps. It's allowed Nespolini to scarper up the road a little bit.
I think most positions, as you see them right now, are being settled. 4 minutes left, plus minus a lap. But yeah, look at GTP, 23 seconds gap between P1 and P2, and then it's another 20-second gap. P here coming through, who looked a little not as close as it was, managed to get around the outside, just has to manage the GT3 traffic. But yeah, big gap in the GTP field, and then Luigi Nespolini is half a second behind.
He's close here, and he's going to go for a move in the final corner. Sticks his nose in, it's not going to work. Now, is he going to have a good run down into turn 1? Sticks behind the Mustang, maybe a wasted opportunity there. Perhaps he should have stayed packed up a little bit closer. Is he going to go late on the brakes? I'll tell you who is going to go late on the brakes. Luigi Nespolini just in front, and he's going to get past Daniel Morphy in another critical move for Nespolini. He's back on the podium with 2 cars in front that are on the 1 stop. It could end up in being more than just a podium if those guys don't have the best result. So plenty of action still at the front of GTP.
Daniel Morphy is now been overtaken, so he's showing that he is the slower car of these two, but he's gonna have some more slipstream now, and he's still on the rear of that Ferrari, so maybe he can cut back. Also look behind Daniel Maggioni as well, losing a little bit to Oriol, so I think this is gonna be a bit closer than these two. Daniel Maggioni just showing that he doesn't, just I said it before, doesn't have the edge. It's the same as we saw with Matteo Lembre and Kiko.
Oh.
You laps. Well,
you're not misreading
Thailand
that.
Also
Don't.
fighting for P3 in the GT3 AM class. Bilbao Valcase. So a lot of good battles developing here in the ending minutes of the race.
Albert Preem now leads in GTP, but that's because he's not made his second stop yet. Wonder if he's trying to make it to the end, but he pitted in after 28 minutes, so it'd be a very long final stint to make that work, so that would be a big challenge for him. I don't think that's going to work, and it looks like Oyston is all over the back of him. Let's see if we get to see an on-track pass, and I think we might do here, so Oyston trying to retake the lead of GTP on track before his rival has time to pit, show a bit of dominance, and oh, they're very close there. He defends the inside line, going into the corner, and there's contact. The leader and Albert Preem make contact. Is Albert going to come into the pits? He's not. And Oyston's going to let him go back past, but then Albert dives into the pit lane. That was all a little bit messy. I think that'll be reviewed by race control.
Seemed like a really late move from Oyston. I think you would also know that Albert was going into the pit, so perhaps a bit optimistic, but he's up into P1 now, and he's gonna have at least a 10-second gap back down. But I think it's gonna be a very harsh penalty if it's gonna be anything. Back to Daniel Maggioni. He's still trying to hunt down Oriol Polch. Just he's staying within that half a second, and it's of course enough to get the benefit of a slipstream from the Mustang in front, but he's just not close enough to do any kind of late moves or moves around the outside, or really bullying Oriol into any kind of mistake. Oriol seemed to cope really well with the pressure from the Porsche behind, and also the pressure from having a one-stop. He's been doing great fuel strategy wise, because he's still P5 overall, so also doing well on track, but also always debate if you could do better if you don't finish in first position.
Yes, I don't believe the leader has taken the white flag. He's coming through the back stretch now, just about to go into the braking zone for the chicane, so it's going to be this lap plus one more for these GT3s. This is where we might start to see some big saves if they need to.
They have to do 2 laps. I think it's gonna be fast stretch for Oriol. remember that he pitted just after the 30-minute mark. Maybe we will see him go into a splash.
Oh no, they've
just
taken
for
the
final
checkered.
lap.
Oh, some of these
So
drivers
taking the
very
checkered.
lucky to take the
Okay.
checkered flag just due to being just behind the leader. So it was white flag. We just didn't see it come through on the broadcast screen for some reason. But I tell you who's not quite so lucky is Luigi Nespolini, Vincent Ossoms, and crucially Fabio Ponta. And Vincent Ossoms are the ones we need to watch out for, who are going to have to complete this lap, which is one more lap than a lot of their rivals did. Fabio Ponta coming through the hairpin. That's a 5-second time penalty for Albert Preem for causing that collision. So that's an instant we saw a few laps ago. And tell you what, that's going to cost Albert Preem because he's only 1 second ahead of Ryan Walker. So Albert Preem will lose his podium for that contact he had with the leader. He wasn't really fighting, so he'll rue that decision.
I think Daniel Murphy is actually the big loser of that final white flag. I mean, he was right behind Luigi Nespolini at least for quite some time, and then Oriol Fols as well. Daniel Maggioni, just look at that gap. I'm not sure one more lap would have made the difference, but I'm sure they would have liked to try at least. But yeah, doesn't really matter. They wouldn't have made it up to Fabio Ponta. He's not coming through the final corner. He can coast to the line if he wants to. Comes out of the final corner, and there it is. It is settled. He's gonna win
Another
fourth
win.
round of the IMSA series here at Nurburgring. Phenomenal racing from Fabio Ponta. Starting P1 and ending P1.
Another great race from that driver, and Vincent Ossoms now crossed the line, so the one stop was able to make it work. But I think overall the two strategies fairly equal. If we look where Luigi Nespolini came out, Daniel Maggioni was a little bit more unfortunate. He was spending a bit too long in the pit lane on that first stop, so he'll rue that decision. We've seen that be so crucial in the GT3 classes so far this season. Ignis able to finish nearly 19 seconds ahead. So really impressive from him and the AM driver. Chris van Stuyland on his return to the IMSA series, only half a second behind the podium in AM. So very impressive from him to do that on the return drive around drivers you're not quite used to racing with yet. I believe we've got Ignis for an interview, so we'll just drag him down here if you give us a moment. As Fabio Ponta pushes his teammate. Fabio Ponta gets a push from his teammate. Obviously, he's now run out of fuel and unable to complete the full in-lap, it seems. Drag Ignis in now. Hi, Ignis. Well done. Another race win. I believe that puts you pretty level in the championship with Adam. I think race was kind of won for you by qualifying in amongst all the pro cars and being able to pull away with them. How crucial was qualifying that far up the order in winning this race? Ignis, are you with us?
I think Ignis is muted.
Well, he's in the booth, but can't hear him at the moment, so we'll have to move on unless he can get it working. If he does, feel free to interrupt us. But congratulations anyway, another win on the books. Great race from you, 19 seconds ahead, so congratulations. Ule, do you want to take us through the race results? We'll go from bottom to top this time, so let's do GT3 AM first.
Of course, yeah, GT3 AM, as we have him here in the booth, Ignis ending up in P1, 19 seconds in front of Adam Jarvis. Of course, in P2, P3, it's Alvaro Balcase, and then it's Chris van Stuyland, P4, Charlie Lord, P5, Jose Villarreal, P6, Matteo Lemre, P7, Jesus Saavedra, P8, Denzel de Ruyver, P9. Looked like Denzel actually left the session a bit earlier than the others, 26 laps behind.
Okay, I'll take us through GT3 Pro. So Fabio Ponta won. Again, you can see he ran out of fuel just after crossing the line and was pushed around the in-lap by his teammate. Vincent Ossoms finished in P2, Luigi Nespolini in P3, and it says they were a lap down, but they weren't a lap down. Daniel Morphy, Oriol Falk, Daniel Maggione, Kiko Lakaya, and Dominic Knockel round out your drivers that will score points this round. They weren't a lap down, as I said. They just did one less lap than the leaders due to where they were relative to the overall leader. So congratulations to all of our drivers, and then GTP won't take as long to run through, but we'll run through it as always. So Oystein Herford won the race by 14 seconds after a late race collision with Albert Preem, who was going a lot longer on the fuel, so inherited the lead momentarily. There was contact. Albert Preem, I believe, has received a 5-second time penalty, so that'll drop him down to 4th and promote Ryan Walker onto the podium. Alex Kopp was in P8 and Christoph Steiler was a lap down in P6. So congratulations to those drivers. Before we go into our closing statements, I'd just like to remind everybody that entries are now half off. I believe it'll only be €4 to purchase a entry for the rest of the season, so that's the remaining 4 races at a bargain, €1 a race, with still the potential to win prizes if you can go on a good point scoring streak. So grab your entry in the description. Right, Ule, what was your highlight of the race?
Yeah, I'd say race-wise, some strategy, so it's really interesting with the fuel to look at, but it's also some great racing at the end. Some of the moves that didn't work, and some of them that did, and then I think that's really it. I think GT3 was the most interesting class to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the strategies were great. It was a shame we didn't have more fighting in GTP, but we did have that fairly close podium battle at one point, just no major overtaking opportunities. I'd like to give a big shout out to all the drivers. I think we had very, very few incidents during the race. I think race control were even getting a little bit bored with not much to look at, so always a good thing. So congratulations to all the drivers for keeping it nice and clean. I believe we are back next week. I'll just confirm that for you. If we go into the IMSA Season 6 information channel. So we are back next week at Road America, and then we're back the following week again at Belle Isle. So that's Detroit in the United States. So congratulations to all the drivers. It's great to have everyone with us again, and we'll leave you there. Thank you for joining us,